Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. Second hour kicks off right now on this Monday morning. Hopefully you all had an absolutely fantastic weekend and you are ready to hit up a brand new work week. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in. We'll get back to some more baseball talk. In the first hour, we exclusively talk some Brewers and some baseball and such as the Brewers take a series against the Nationals, winning 2 out of 3. They're back at it tonight, taking on the Cardinals, an early big matchup here with the Cardinals ahead of the Brewers, one of those hot teams in the NL Central right now, ahead of the Brewers in the standings. But could we also see the return of, sure sounds like Andrew Vaughn for sure. Jackson Chourio did take a foul ball off his foot. Doesn't sound, x-rays were negative, so hopefully that means he will be able to go here. But could we also see maybe Cooper Pratt join in on the fun? So we'll keep you posted if anything does happen to drop here in the next couple of hours. A little bit later on, we'll do some Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam. We'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We've got Blue Gold Baseball clinching a spot in the WIAC Conference Tournament. First time since 1995 getting the 3 seed. Blue Gold Softball also clinching a spot in the WIAC Conference Tournaments. They are the 4 seed going up against Stevens Point. So we'll cover that and chat a little bit more in our local sports roundup, again, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. That'll come your way in the 9 o'clock hour. It is a VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. So what is the best and what is the worst from the weekend for you? Send those on over via that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912, or you can join in on the Section 105 chat room on our YouTube page. So we open up this hour. Let's chat a little football, all right, because for the first time, I don't know why it's taken so long. I don't know if that'll be asked or not, but we're going to hear from Jonathan Gannon for the first time as Packers defensive coordinator. He's going to address the media today, believe it or not. So he does exist. He actually is there. He actually is the defensive coordinator. But I know it's kind of a running thing with a lot of people on social media who cover the Packers and such, because he never had an introductory press conference and such. So they're going to hear from him today. So with our little game time, what would you ask? What would you ask Jonathan Gannon if you were a part of that media group? If you could ask one question to the new Packers defensive coordinator, what would it be? For one, surveyor Sam says he would ask Gannon, why did you choose Green Bay, and what's your ideal timeline here? I have a few questions off the top of my head that I just kind of throw out there for consideration for everybody else. One, I guess I would ask, nothing really is a base defense anymore, but if he had to kind of maybe pick which one he flows to more, is it more 4-3-3-4? And we kind of already know that's 3-4, but what's his... When he looks at the current makeup of this roster now for Green Bay and who's there and the type of players that they have on the defensive side, does he how does that determine how he's going to kind of create this defense and call this defense? You know what I mean? Essentially what I'm asking is he going to be a coordinator, I guess, and build his defense around the players he has and put his players in the best absolute position to succeed? Or are they going to pigeonhole it and ask players to play out of position and that? But what's his mindset? What's his vision for for this defense? Is he going to be safety heavy like we've seen a little bit in the past, especially with the Cardinals? How much does he prioritize, the defensive backs and such? I know some people are probably going to ask, is he going to be a defensive coordinator that's going to call from the booth or the sidelines and such? Everybody's different with that, but I'll be curious to kind of hear some of his thoughts, though, today. Just overall kind of, the makeup, because I've heard him talk a few times, obviously going back to when he was with the Eagles as the defensive coordinator and such, and then obviously with the Cardinals as head coach. But maybe another question I would ask him is, what did you learn being a head coach for the last couple of years with the Cardinals that you can use in your next run, in your next wave or next chapter of your coaching journey? What did you learn from being a head coach of the Cardinals that maybe better suits you as defensive coordinator going forward now for the Green Bay Packers? Was there something that you can take from being a head coach that you feel like could better serve you as a defensive coordinator? Because let's face it here too, this is a must-win now situation. Jonathan Gannon definitely is under a lot of pressure. Everybody's under a lot of pressure, whether it's Matt LaFleur, Ed Policy, Brian Gutekunst, Jonathan Gannon, these players. It is a must-win now situation in Green Bay. So does he feel like, was there anything from that experience of being a head coach that he feels like could better suit him in this second run as a defensive coordinator? And joining a team, too, as defensive coordinator with the high expectations that Green Bay has. And something that you can ask him, or we could ask him, he's not going to, I don't think, show all of his cards in that. But, Micah Parsons, you have a player like Micah Parsons. How do you utilize him? What's the strategy there? What's the game plan in terms of using Micah Parsons? All over the board, all over the field, versatility. He's not going to tell you that. He's not going to tell us that today. He's not going to tip his hand in his cards and such, but it might be kind of curious to get his answer in that. And I guess maybe another one, too, I'd kind of go back to the one I said, can he take anything that he did with Philadelphia as defensive coordinator? Can he take anything from that group and how he developed that defense, how he built that defense? Can he bring that to Green Bay? Which elements? Because he's had two different defenses, right? Obviously, head coach with the Cardinals and that, and defensive coordinator with the Eagles. When he looks at this Green Bay defense, is there elements of both that he would bring in? Is it more geared towards the Eagles, which I think if you ask just a lot of fans in general, they would probably say, hey, bring more of the Eagles side of things to it. But I mean, there's a lot. There's definitely a lot that you could probably come up with and ask Jonathan Gannon. And you may get something, you may not. And we're going to hear from the new special teams coordinator here today, too. We could come up with some questions for that. Who's your main returner right now? Is it Sky Moore? Is it Keyshawn Nixon? Assuming it is Sky Moore, is the possibility of Keyshawn Nixon to return kicks there? I mean, for crying out loud, he's a two-time All-Pro in that. How often do we hear? And this is still one of the biggest bugaboos that I have, and I know he cornerback number one in that, but for crying out loud, why, when you have an All-Pro returner, do you remove him from that? And that might have been more Keyshawn than anything, but this is when you're a coach, and then it's like, nah, dude, you have been named an All-Pro here. You do this job well. You need to help out the team, and you need to do this. So, still grinds my gears. But anyways, is that a possibility that we're going to see Keyshawn involved with kicks on kick returns, maybe with Sky Moore. Or Sky Moore more of a punt, and then Keyshawn kicks. How does he view that? What about the kicking competition now with Trace Mack and Brandon McManus? The challenge of having a rookie kicker. And the thing is, too, with Cam coming in, as being the new special teams coordinator, let's remember, too, with him bringing in with the Packers bringing in a rookie kicker, you got a new special teams coordinator coming into the building. Neither one of those guys, and maybe Cam from, a little bit of a experience playing it at Lambeau Field and such, but they're both very inexperienced in terms of how to kick in Lambeau Field. I mean, we hear it all the time. Mason Crosby talks about it all the time. Aaron Rodgers talked about it all the time too. The winds and how they swirl, and they're different inside that stadium. You've got a new special teams coordinator coming in who's not that familiar with it, and potentially a rookie kicker coming in who's not familiar with that. How do you replicate that? How do you prepare for that? But, I'd be curious just to kind of hear Cam's response to, is anybody up for grabs? Not anybody, but I mean, from coverage units to, blocking units and such. What's the mindset? Are we going to have starters in there, or what, that sort of thing. So I'm definitely curious to find out today and listen to some of those responses and such. But we had rookie minicamp this past weekend. I'm not going to dive into just videos and pictures of people who were there and in that, but it's not going to grasp at straws on that. But I will say Chase Claypool was there as a tryout. As of right now, not signed. Bring him in. Why not? You have the opportunity, try him out, see what's there. I don't have a problem with Green Bay doing that. Kind of caught me off guard because I was in the middle of recording a podcast with Brandon when that popped up on Friday. I was like, oh, okay. And that was a guy, obviously, a couple of years ago, rumored that the Packers were trying to trade a second-round pick. I think Aaron was still the quarterback at that time. But why not kick the tires? See what's there. All right. Oh, see, Bob, happy Monday, stud. Just wanted to say that your softball podcast with Brandon was A+. Any softball fan should listen to it. Will make you reminisce about your playing days. I wish I would have known then that those were the best weekends of my life, and you guys are spot on, 10,000%. It's about the relationships. Well, thanks, C-Bomb. We actually, surprised me, we actually had, that is one of our most listened to episodes of the podcast. So big thanks for people tuning in. And the video version of it is on YouTube. Audio version is up wherever you listen to your podcast. So, but thanks, C-Bomb. We threw C-Bomb's name in there a few times and such. We're probably going to do a follow-up one, because after it was done, I started to think about, I forgot this, I forgot that, I forgot, this and that. And so I'd like to get more stories and nuggets from other people who participated in that game. Like you, C-Bomb, we got to hear the story of your Class D state MVP run. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. What's your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend? Send them on over. All right, want to hear from you. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday, and if you're wondering where you should maybe take the wife or the mom or grandma or wherever out to eat on Sunday, how about the VFW Post 305 for their special Mother's Day buffet? Sunday, May 10th, featuring eggs, beef tips, bacon, ham, pancakes, French toast, breakfast potatoes, fruit, mimosa specials. Man, that is a loaded up menu. Adults $18, kids just $9. All moms enter to win a special pampering gift basket too. So that's happening this Sunday at our good friends, the VFW Post 305. And don't forget about their 2 for Tuesdays from 6 to 9 p.m. 2 mugs or pints of domestic brewskis for the price of 1. So I know that's tomorrow on Tuesdays, but put that in the back of your minds as well. So, so C-Bomb, some of those softball stories, though, they're probably not made for sharing publicly. So we might have to be careful with some of them, right, man? But no, we'll have to get you down, have to sit you down, and a couple others and a few others, maybe do a little round table edition of that. So, speaking of VFW Post 305, best and worst from the weekend. I'll do my best and worst from the weekend. How about that? So, I think my worst from the weekend, I'm going to go with this. Just because I do have a soft spot in my heart yet. It's hard to just shut that door off. But I was an Orlando Magic fan as a kid. To see them blow a 3-1 series lead against the Pistons, that stunk. That stunk. The best, though, I'm going to say this, the Celtics losing. Didn't have that. Did not have that. So, look, we're this close to seeing the top seeds in the Eastern Conference out of the playoffs. That would have really changed up the NBA slate, wouldn't it? But, man, now you're looking at the NBA bracket, the playoff bracket here. So we've got Thunder taking on the Lakers. That's going to be tomorrow. Timberwolves are going to be in action tonight as they take on the Spurs. Pistons, Cavs, and then Knicks, 76ers. Knicks, 76ers on tonight, too. So that was my worst, just to see Orlando lose, but the best day, I'm going to say the Celtics at that point, too. But so speaking of playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs are well underway. The Wild did fall last night to the Avalanche. High-scoring game, 9-6. That's like a low-scoring football game for crying out loud. 9-6 in hockey. Jeez Louise. But Montreal also picking up a win. So they defeated Tampa Bay last night 2-1. So they move on. They're going to be taking on the Sabres. So we've got, what is it? It's all 1-3s. 1 versus 3s. Top seeds versus 3 seeds. Avalanche, the top seed, going up against 3 seed Wild. Then you've got number 1, the Knights, going up against number 3 Ducks. And then you've got number 1 Sabres going up against 3 Canadians. Number 1 Hurricanes going up against the number 3 Flyers. So for tonight, we've got Golden Knights taking on the Ducks, and then Hurricanes Flyers. Carolina currently leads that series 1-0. So, but there you have it. Little updates on the playoff race and such. Back to a little baseball. First of all, C-Bomb says, let's get Hedge, Augie, and Tim to all sit with you. Well, what about D9 and Dauber and those guys too, right? Got to throw everybody in there. But back to a little more baseball here. Do you think The Miz, can you call The Miz an ace right now? It's about 60-40 if I'm looking at some of the responses right now. And honestly, it's either yes, and pretty much everybody said no because it's just a little too early. Ben says, I would love to say Jacob Mizorowski is the ace of the staff, but I just think it's a little too early to call him that right now. Kevin says, I think it's a skosh. I like the use of skosh. Skosh, a little too, I think it's a skosh too early to label Jacob Mizorowski an ace in Major League Baseball right now. Just a little inconsistent at times, but he's definitely performed better than I thought he was going to this year. I feel like his control has been a lot better compared to last year. Sky is the limit with him. Jake says he is an ace. He is lights out dominant when he is on, and that's why I consider him an ace. So how about the rest of you? Do you consider Jacob Mizorowski an ace? Not just, I don't want to say, well, he is the Brewers' ace. We've had that label for how many Brewers pitchers? It's like he's an ace of the Brewers, but he's probably like a 2 or 3 for another team. Straight up across Major League Baseball, okay? Straight up. Let's say, obviously, if he goes to, I was going to say if he goes to any team, is he an ace? It depends on the team he goes to. I get that. But from a Major League Baseball standpoint, do you consider him an ace? So, send those on over. All right. Text it or comment on the video stream. Do you consider Jacob Misiorowski an ace right now? He's coming up, and that dude was on Friday. And, yep, I got a little nervous when he had to be pulled when he left the game. Luckily, it was just a cramp in the hamstring. Today's going to be a day, though, to kind of monitor if he goes through his normal routine. Everything that he's done normally since then has been good, great, but it's kind of like a normal bullpen workout day for him today. So if that goes well, if that goes normal, he should be ready to go for his next start. But Misiorowski, 2-2, a 2.84 ERA, leads all of Major League Baseball in strikeouts with 59, sub-3 ERA. Hard to look at some of the, you talk about opponents' batting average. It's like 172. Sure looks the part right now. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll talk some more baseball. Continue to send me your VFW post 305 best and worst from the weekend. A little bit later on, we'll do some glory days, and then we've got some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. All right, we'll be right back after these quick words. As the fields come back to life, it's time for spring sports in the Chippewa Valley. Whether you are stepping up to the plate or hitting the track or getting back on the field, make sure that your body is ready to perform. At Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, their team specializes in keeping athletes of all ages healthy, strong, and in the game. From injury prevention to expert care and recovery, they've got you covered every step of the season. Don't let pain keep you on the sidelines. Get back in the game with confidence. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, helping you move better, to play stronger, and to stay in the game. A few more comments. It's probably about 50-50 right now in terms of people chiming in about Jacob Misiorowski. Would you consider him an ace? I was kind of looking at some of the ratings and such, and this one was from ESPN with their rating system. They've actually, all across, so National League, they've got Jacob Misiorowski based off the numbers so far in their rating system, 16th best in the National League. Major League Baseball, he is down to, where do you go? 31. 31. So in the National League, the top-rated pitcher is Chris Sale with the 57 rating. And this includes not just, it includes starters and relief pitchers and such, but in terms of starters, Chris Sale is up there, Clay Holmes, Imanaga, Bryce Elder, Chase Burns, Tyler Glasnow. Honestly, really, Mason Miller's third, but he's just lights out here. So I guess if we look at just from a starting standpoint, just in the National League, Miz would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Kyle Harrison's actually ranked a little bit higher, 9. So Misiorowski's 10, and then Harrison is 9. Just in the National League, if we're just looking at starters. So Harrison ranked, 24.9 compared to Miz, who's 24.8. It's just by the skin of our teeth here. So, but it looks like from the majority there, it's about 50-50, and honestly, it's mostly just, I think people aren't quite ready yet, just a little too early. And for a couple of you who texted in to call out other people, I'm not going to read your text if you're going to be disrespectful to other listeners. So you can keep those thoughts to yourselves. I'm not going to read that. So everybody's got the right to their own opinion. Okay? I'm not going to read your disrespectful stuff. So you might as well just stop that. But Ben says, I think he's really close. I just not quite ready there with just a little under a year yet from him being in the major leagues. I don't know if I could put him in the category yet of Tariq Skubal and Paul Skeens. Matt says, I do think he is at that ace level. I would say he's probably still a little more inconsistent compared to the other aces out there, but he is definitely trending upward. Nate says that I'm not quite ready to put him there yet, but he is really, really close. Maybe a couple more outings, and I would be right there, putting him in that upper level of aces. So, Mike says, I don't feel the Miz is quite there yet to be called an ace. An ace, more often than not, will eat up innings to give your bullpen relief. It's the same reason I felt Peralta was never one. And then Jeremy says, I probably would slightly put him as an ace, but it's really, really close. I think he does have some other stuff to clean up, notably maybe lasting a little bit longer into games. So, all right, hey, keep your respectful comments coming and opinions coming. Text them on over at 715-830-1912. It's probably about 50-50 right now at this point in time. So, but we'll see. You look at this starting pitcher. Hey, what up, Zach? Good morning, Zach. Good morning to the crew at the Section 105 video chat. So you look at this Brewers pitching staff, these starters, though, overall, and I know it's only about 6-7 games into this thing, so numbers could be a little bit skewed and such. But when we look at it let's just focus on the starters right now for the Brewers. All right. You look at the ERA from your starters. You've got Mizorowski, 2.84. Kyle Harrison, 2.12. Chad Patrick, 2.57. Three of your starting pitchers, sub-3 ERAs. Brandon Sprode, who we're going to see a little bit later on here, his is up there at a 6.75 because of his poor start to the season. And then Brandon Woodruff at a 3.60 in just 6 games pitched. But you're looking at three pitchers who, are 20? How old is Chad Patrick? Chad Patrick is 27. Okay, so he's a little over past mid-20s, but still. Mizorowski, Kyle Harrison, Chad Patrick, 2-point-something ERA, under 3. Those are some better numbers than I thought they were, to be honest with you. And I know it's only, again, 6 or 7 games into it because Patrick and Harrison only have 6, whereas Miz has 7, but still. Then you look at opponent's batting average. Mizorowski is really impressive at a 172. Opponent's batting average, 172 against him. And then you look at Harrison, 222, and Chad Patrick, 222 as well. Whip, Mizorowski's a 1, Harrison's a 1.11, Chad Patrick is a 1.25. Woodruff had a 1.03. How would you power rank? Okay, kind of feeding off the whole Miz ace talk. How would you power rank the Brewers starting pitching staff? Is Miz 1? Do we put Kyle Harrison at 2? I think I put Kyle Harrison at 2. I mean, he's 3-1 with a 2.12 ERA. Dude has 35 strikeouts in just 29, a little over 29 innings pitched. Yeah, I'd put Harrison at 2. Miz and Harrison 1-2. And then if you just base it off of ERA and those numbers, is Chad Patrick 3, or do you still put Woodruff at 3? I mean, Woodruff in 6 games, 2-1, 3.60 ERA, 30 innings. Chad Patrick, 28 innings, 2-1 with a 2.57 ERA. Woodruff, opponent's batting average, 216. Chad Patrick, 222. Woodruff, 25 strikeouts. Chad Patrick, 16. Woodruff has only given up 7 walks, though. Chad Patrick, 13. Home runs, Brandon Woodruff has given up 4. Chad Patrick, 2. Maybe a little neck and neck there. And then, you got Brandon Sproat and maybe throw a little Logan Henderson on there. But I know we'll talk more about Brandon Sproat coming up when it's his next start, which I believe is tomorrow because Wednesday is still up in the air. But, Sproat got off to that really, really bad start to the season. But his last couple games they've been a little bit better. 7 earned runs against the White Sox on the 29th. Kansas City, 4 earned runs. Now he's coming off that Diamondbacks 1-2 where he had 4 earned runs. So I don't know. I feel like if Woodruff if Woodruff's back, if he maybe only misses like 1 turn through the rotation, it's just a small, stint on there. I want to keep Logan Henderson in this starting rotation. I don't know about the rest of you, but I think Logan Henderson deserves to be in the starting rotation. I think Brandon Sproat's got a ton of talent. The dude's got all the talent in the world. It's just a little inconsistent at this point. And when you look at, the stage of where this Brewers team is at and the standings and maybe a little bit of offensive struggles and such, if you had to choose between Brandon Sproat and Logan Henderson out there to start a game, I'm going Logan Henderson. I've got my confidence level is a little bit higher for Logan Henderson. And I know Sproat's got the start coming up here, but if he goes out there and let's say gives up 4 earned runs or, like his last one against the Diamondbacks, let's say he goes out there for 4 innings and gives up 4 earned runs. And let's assume that Brandon Woodruff, and I know it's probably a big assumption, but let's assume Brandon Woodruff may be back. I'd rather have Logan Henderson in this rotation right now. And it's kind of a knock on Sproat, but I'm not ready to give up on Sproat. Maybe he needs a little bit more time to kind of fine-tune things. Just given the way that the division is playing out and how tough it is and how tight it is and the offense still trying to find its rhythm, give me Logan Henderson. Heck, I want to see Coleman Crow again. With that curveball, dude, jeez. All right, if Woodruff's going to be missing maybe a few starts, and then if Sproat has a poor outing, maybe you call up both Crow and keep Logan Henderson up there. Go with a couple more youngsters. They ain't pitching like youngsters. They're pitching like some pretty darn good veterans at this point. All right, we got to take a quick break as we wrap up the second hour, head into halftime here. We'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. If your home or your space needs some flooring updates, it's time to upgrade. Where do you go? Look no further than our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center, Wisconsin's premier flooring store. Whether it's maybe with getting ready for summer, maybe the warmer weather this past weekend. Like yesterday, I was doing some shingle work and such, had to cool down. Where do you go cool down? You cool down in the man cave. So maybe you're like, oh, I gotta remodel this space. So this could be my summer shelter, summer cave and such. Well, you start from the floor up. So you go visit our friends at Carpet City Flooring Center at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. Whether it's carpet, whether it's luxury vinyl planks, whether it's tile, whatever the case may be, or if you're not even sure and you're just not sure what would work the best in your space or fit in your budget or look the best, the entire team at Carpet City Flooring Center will help you figure it out. So again, go stop by today, all right? Go talk to them. See, they'll help you come up with a game plan and such. Again, that address, 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire. You can also check them out online at carpetcitywi.com. So, few of you saying Kyle Harrison and Miz definitely top two. Ben on our texting line says Harrison has been a big surprise for me. That guy is a ton of fun to watch pitch a ball game. I agree. Harrison is really fun to watch. I love watching that kid pitch. That kid, I shouldn't even say a kid. He pitches like he's been doing this for a while. Sky's the limit for this one. The Brewers are, right now, they may have fleeced the Red Sox with that trade. To trade Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, and Siegler, even if they would have just gotten Kyle Harrison in return with the way that Kyle Harrison is pitching, that guy has been awesome. He has been awesome so far. Again, 6 games. He's 3-1 with a 2.12 ERA. Man, I wish he was pitching on Sunday on Mother's Day so I could see him in person. Going to the game on Sunday. But that dude has been he between him and Mizorowski, watching those two guys pitch is just it's beautiful. It's a thing of beauty, for crying out loud. They're like power pitchers. They're making you look silly. You throw in a little Coleman Crow action into this thing. Talk about pitchers making you look silly. Throw a little Coleman Crow into this thing with his breaking ball. Sick. Absolutely sick. There is one pitcher I want to kind of talk a little bit about because I think he has quietly been having a really, really good season, and maybe give him a little bit of a shout out here, and that's DL Hall. Now, DL Hall, remember, was a part of the Corbin Burns trade package, him and Joey Ortiz, plus the pick in return for Corbin Burns. And DL Hall has been a guy that has gone through some injuries the past couple of years. Initially thought of as a starter, then maybe kind of an opener, and now he's really been a versatile option. He's kind of like Aaron Ashby in a sense. And, you know, we've talked a lot about Aaron Ashby and just how well he has done, and I think has really grown into his role for this team, has become a really good pitcher. But DL Hall has done the same. I mean, the 17th and the 19th, he gave up his first run of the season on April 17th, and it was a big run at that point. And then the 19th, he gave up 2. But he has bounced back and not given up a single run since. And then, in fact, you look at the 22nd against Detroit, 2 innings, 32 pitches, 2 1/3 against Arizona. No earned runs in either one of those contests. He has pitched in some big moments and such, and I would just wonder now, too, with the injury of Zerpo, who's probably going to be done for this season. Does a guy like DL Hall kind of come into those situations, those high pressure, high leverage, type of situations? Because I think you keep Aaron Ashby in the role that he's at. And he could be another option there too, but DL Hall, he's appeared in 13 games so far this season, and he has struck out 17 batters in just over 14 innings so far this year. Between him and Aaron Ashby coming out of the pen, those two guys have given this ball club some flexibility, some length when needed, and they've pitched really well. Aaron Ashby, 5-0 with a 2.57 ERA. He's pitched in 21 innings so far this year. But I wanted to throw out a little bit of a shout out to DL Hall, because this is a guy that has been the last couple of years just kind of, pegged with injuries. And you're kind of wondering, okay, is he going to be a starter? Is it going to work out? What is his role? And so far this year, he's done really well. And I think you got to give a tip of the cap to him. Opponent's batting average against him, 184. And right now, I believe that is, second best on the ball club, only behind Jacob Mizorowski at 172. Oh, yeah, because then you got Grant Anderson, who's 196. Grant Anderson, too, he's 1-1. He's pitched in 17 games, 3.31 ERA, but just a 196 batting average going up against him. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off. We're going to hit up halftime here, so keep your Brewers thoughts coming as we get set for a big series going up against the Cardinals starting tonight. It's kind of like NL Central watch tonight because you've got the Pirates taking on the Diamondbacks, but then it's Brewers, Cardinals, and Cubs taking on the Reds. That's another big series in the division in the NL Central. So, but we'll continue. Plenty more baseball talk coming up here. We've got, we did bring up the Jackson Cheerio stuff earlier on there, Zach. So we'll hit it up a little bit later on in that, but more Brewers talk coming up a little bit later on. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. So continue to send me your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. We'll get to some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in the 9 o'clock hour, along with our Glory Days brought to you by Summer Jam. It's halftime. We got some news updates, and we'll be right back.